You were told to speak up, so you did, and it cost you. Not dramatically, not in a way you could prove, it cost you slowly, in the way things do when the punishment is invisible but the pattern is not. You prepared for that meeting. You had the data, the logic, the slide deck nobody asked for but you built anyway. You said what needed to be said, clearly, calmly, with evidence. The room moved on. No acknowledgement, no pushback, just silence, and then someone else's voice filling it. 3 minutes later, a male colleague restated your point. Same idea, different mouth. The director nodded, leaned forward, asked a follow-up question. You watched it happen in real time. You did not explode. You recalibrated. That is the word for what you do in that moment. You recalibrate. You file it. You wonder if you said it wrong, too fast, too flat, not warm enough. You decide to prepare harder next time. This is where it starts, not with a villain, not with a single moment you can point to. It starts with you deciding, again, to try harder. You reread your emails before sending them, not for typos, for tone. You soften sentences that did not need softening. You add just where there was no just before. You write, I was wondering if, instead of what you actually mean. You are managing your own volume before anyone asks you to. 2 desks over, there is someone named Priya. Priya is warm, easy, always slightly behind. She is in the room for every major decision. She speaks often and sometimes incorrectly, and the room leans in anyway. One afternoon, she laughs in the director's doorway for 8 minutes and comes back named on a project you built the groundwork for. You notice this. You file it. You say nothing. You wonder if you are being too sensitive. You are not being too sensitive. You are being accurate. That is the first thing to understand. This is not a confidence problem. You have confidence. You have more than confidence. You have competence, preparation, and a track record. What you do not have is pre-assigned credibility, and that is a different thing entirely. Credibility in a room is not earned during the meeting. It is carried in before anyone speaks. It is built in hallways, lunches, the 15-minute decompression chat after the all hands. It is built in spaces where people relax their professional performance and just exist near each other. You are not consistently in those spaces. So by the time the meeting starts, the social architecture is already set. You speak up in meetings because the meeting is the only room you are fully inside. What you did not know, what nobody told you, is that the real meeting happened before you sat down. Here is the trap underneath the trap. If you stay quiet, you are invisible. If you speak too often, you are a lot. If you push back, you are not collaborative. If you do not push back, your ideas get absorbed into someone else's credit. You cannot win by volume. The dial does not work the same way for you. The feedback you get reflects this. Not directly, never directly. It shows up as, could be more collaborative, sometimes comes across as abrasive. Stakeholder management is an area to develop. Nothing specific, nothing addressable, nothing you can fix, because it is not actually describing a behavior, it is describing a social response to you. These notes are not feedback, they are corrections. The organization is not telling you what to do differently, it is telling you to take up less space. The word assertive is doing something specific in your workplace. When it is used about someone protected by informal social capital, it reads as a strength. When it is used about you, it reads as a warning. Same word, different weight. The dictionary definition is irrelevant. The social application is everything. Now something starts happening inside your nervous system. You begin running 2 systems at once. One does the job, the other monitors the job in real time, scanning every sentence before it leaves your mouth, modeling how it will land, calculating who is in the room and what each person's reaction history suggests. You are not just working. You are working while auditing your own existence at work. This is where burnout actually lives. Not in the hours, not even in the workload. In the cost of that second system running, always, underneath everything else. You lose sleep before presentations. Not from nerves about the content, from modeling every possible misread. You wake up already tired. The dread is in your chest before you have opened a single app. You start doing something new. You hold back ideas in the meeting and send them in emails afterward instead. This is not passivity. This is protection. You are creating a record. You are building evidence in a place where evidence might matter later. You are now protecting yourself inside a job you used to find energizing. 6 months ago, you were the person who spoke first. Now you wait to see who is in the room. Priya gets promoted to team lead. You hear about it in a calendar invite. She is not sharper than you. She is not more prepared than you. She simply never felt the cost of speaking. She never ran the internal monitor. She never had to soften her sentences before they arrived. The environment drained one of you and rewarded the other, not based on output, but based on ease. The organization did not make a mistake. It made a choice, and the choice is consistent. You are not becoming less confident. You are becoming less willing to absorb the consequence of confidence. That is not weakness. That is information. Now zoom out. What you are experiencing is not an anomaly. It is a pattern that organizations are structurally motivated to maintain. Performance reviews are where it gets formalized. The categories are neutral sounding: communication style, executive presence, stakeholder management. These are the categories where women who speak up get penalized without a paper trail. The language does not say, "she is too much." The language says, "there is an opportunity to develop executive presence." Same message, cleaner legal surface. If the organization admitted the double bind, it would have to change. So the organization does not admit it. Instead, it repositions it as your development area. HR is not there to protect you. HR is there to manage the organization's exposure. When someone says, "let's work on your executive presence," they are not offering a path forward. They are managing your trajectory away from spaces where you might become visible enough to be a problem. The system needs people who speak up just enough to look functional, not enough to challenge the hierarchy. You have been threading that needle without anyone telling it existed. You have been performing the correct amount of presence for a game you did not know you were playing. The advice you were given, speak up, be assertive, claim your seat at the table, was not wrong. It was just not written for your seat. It was written for someone already inside the informal network, already carrying pre-assigned credibility, already perceived as low risk by the people who make decisions before the meeting starts. You were given a strategy designed for a different player in a different version of the game. Here is what shifts now, not the system. The system does not shift because you watched a video. What shifts is your ability to see it. You can now name the pre-assigned credibility. You can name the informal channels you were not inside. You can name the feedback that was management, not mentorship. You can name the double bind, too quiet, too much, never exactly right, that was never solvable from the inside. The confusion was the cost. When you could not name the mechanism, you turned the confusion inward. You asked whether you were failing, whether you were difficult, whether your instincts were wrong. You spent energy trying to fix yourself inside a system that was not broken. It was just not built for you. That confusion ends when you can see the board. Not seeing the board does not fix anything, but it stops you from spending another year trying to fix yourself in its place. That is not a small thing. That is the whole thing.